All right, welcome to another episode of Seeds of Music, the web's #1 resource for independent artists. I'm your host, Kyle Williams, and this is our weekly web show where I bring on independent artists and full-time do-it-yourself musicians to talk about the ways in which they build bigger, stronger fan bases and sell more music online and at their shows. Now, if you prefer to listen to just audio, we do have an iTunes podcast version of this show. All you have to do is head over to iTunes and search in the podcast section for Seeds of Music, Rise Above the Noise, and click subscribe. And if you have time, please, it would really help out the show if you leave a rating and a review. Not only will it improve our ranking in iTunes, but it will give the show more exposure, help more artists, and allow me to get bigger and better interviews. On the show today, we have Juliana Ray, who was a major label artist who has since turned to the do-it-yourself path. Now, she's toured with Don Henley, Stevie Nicks, and Rufus Wainwright, to name a few. So she's got a lot of experience working with big name artists. She's also worked with Ethan Johns, who produced Kings of Leon, Ryan Adams, Ray LaMontagne, Crowded House, and also had her songs placed in film, specifically the film Open Range, which is, I love that film. I'm just a big Robert Duvall fan. Definitely a badass film you should check out if you're into westerns. And Juliana is a really rare musician. She is a musician who not only can write great music, but also understands that having that great music is not enough. You also have to have a plan on how you're going to reach more fans, build more fans, and actually sell that music. It's a business model. And so she has really embraced the direct to fan marketing concepts that we talk about in these interviews. And she also embraces the idea of selling. Now, she didn't always do that, because for like most artists, we're very adversive to the idea of doing any kind of selling, but she embraces the idea of selling as an opportunity to contribute. And she actually has prior sales experience, and when she first started doing it, was actually telephone sales. And when she first started doing it, it was a very degrading experience for her because she's an artist, she's a songwriter. But since then, she has, she took a different point of view where she embraced the idea of selling as an opportunity to contribute. And that's helped her music career develop to the point where when she sells, it's no longer a transaction, but a genuine relationship with her fan. Because to her, what you're selling is a connection with your fan. And thus, sales no longer is a necessary evil, it's a necessary thing. And so now what she does is she's learned to capitalize on the spikes of attention that she gets from any source of traffic, whether that's people coming from social media that hear about you or other press or shows. And she actually has sales funnels set up already on her website that allow people to purchase easily. Stay tuned to learn more. All right, Juliana, first off, I have to say, you have the raddest headphones set. You got the air traffic controller thing going on, and I'm just...
I saw these. Sound quality was so good that I saw someone using these. I was like, wow, where'd you get those? So I got them on Amazon, Logitech. I'm not sure which version, but yeah.
It looks like a call center, the call center type. But yeah, but I can hear you very, very well, which is awesome, especially for our podcast listeners. They're only being able to hear a voice, so it's always great to... I've got my mic right here. You can't really see a little blue snowball, and you got that.
Those snowballs are great.
All right, sweet. So we're good to go on that, and we should be coming in loud and clear.
Fantastic.
So Juliana, you're a very accomplished singer-songwriter. You have experiences across the gamut. You've worked with major record labels, and you've also been doing the DIY approach as well. And you also have a business that is music for meditation. So you're kind of just destroying this misconception that artists can't really diversify and have very varied skill sets, which I love about that. So for anyone that doesn't really know your backstory, can you just give us some rundown on who Juliana Ray is?
To encapsulate it, I got really lucky when I got out here. Within a year, I stumbled into a record deal on Warner Brothers, and it really was like stumbling into it. I was produced by a guy named Jeff Lynne, who, if anyone's familiar with him, he's Mr. ELO. He wrote,
Electric Light Orchestra. Yeah.
huh?
Electric Light Orchestra?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. He wrote all those big hits and
Yeah.
was the lead dude. And he also then went on to produce Tom Petty and even the Beatles, that song that I'm blanking on the name of right now. But anyway,
I wish
uh,
I knew, but
yeah,
yeah.
Traveling Wilburys,
Okay.
Regina Spektor, whatever.
Oh,
He's
okay.
to do some, he's just sort of an icon. And so basically, I would say I got extremely lucky when I got out here, and of course, didn't recognize it as luck because it was pretty much how I had envisioned things going.
Yeah.
Um, it was the impetus of youth. And so that happened. And, then came the struggle after that. It was all really easy. And then it
Hmm.
was like, well, I made this record that was quirky. They didn't know what to do with it. I got some amazing press. The head of press at Warner's at the time really loved the record. And, I got great write-ups, a lot of respect, a lot of cred. But it didn't translate into income you can survive on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my next record was an indie record, and again, I've been very fortunate with my producers. I worked with a guy named Ethan Johns, and
Work with
he's
Ray LaMontagne, which is
exact
my
film
favorite single film male artist.
right,
I just had
and
to throw that out there.
too, which I'm a big fan of Ryan's and
Hmm.
Laura Marling, and so yeah, so I've had good producer karma, but we decided to go completely DIY with that, and
Yeah.
I found a distributor. This was like when Amazon was just coming up, and I managed to get because of my major label press, I managed to get NPR to do a spot on this indie release. So there was like major national radio coverage of this little indie release, and we put it on Amazon.
Yeah.
I remember like fighting to get it on Amazon, realizing that this thing was about to air and that would have an impact on our sales. And sure enough, the sales spiked through the roof,
Yeah.
and that led to a distribution deal.
Hmm.
And and then I ended up opening for Don Henley for a few years and Stevie Nicks with him, and so whatever. So that kind of spiraled. That we managed to. I got a lot of traction out of the DIY thing on that record. I mean, it
Okay.
was quite amazing, actually.
So what specifically about like just the do-it-yourself method, like taking it into your hands, that gave you the advantage? I'd imagine it's like more ownership of the process and understanding of it. What is it to you?
Yeah, I mean, gee, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, really. So part of it is like you're experimenting, you're exploring, you're discovering, but I think there was a willingness for just to try, and a sense that it's all built on relationships. Everything's built on
Yeah.
relationships, and also an understanding of the impact. Like I understood, oh, here's a big opportunity. When I managed to get that NPR review, I realized like that's going to have an impact on sales. I better have things set up properly so
Yeah.
that people can hear it. Because I understood
S-
there are going to be spikes,
Yeah.
and this is one of them. And you want to capitalize on those spikes of attention, by having everything set
Yeah.
up so people can easily purchase.
So you probably know what a sales funnel is, I'm guessing.
Yes. Yes, from John Ojaka, who
Yeah.
I've learned all my online marketing tricks and secrets from. Yes.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
So in like before you came across John Jacques' music marketing manifesto, how did you feel about sales? Like, were you just like, ugh?
Well, look, to be honest, a musician's career is long and varied, and sometimes I've done all kinds of crazy side jobs to cover
Hmm.
my bills, and
Yeah.
one of them that I stumbled into was sales, and it was horrible from the perspective of like demoralizing. It was phone sales, like just about as demoralizing as you get. But one of the things I learned from phone sales, well, a couple of things. One is, you know, it's all about my voice and
Hmm.
people and about making a connection. And that's true in music.
Yeah.
So I learned like, oh, people trust me. I can talk to them, I can connect with them on
Yeah.
a relationship level, and people trust me. And really, so much of sales ends up being about that, establishing a genuine connection with people. Then they want to buy from you. Then it's not even a transaction anymore. It's just like, of course, you know. Um, it, so I think that rather than looking at it as strictly transactional, when you start to look at it as a relationship in which you're giving something of value
Yeah.
and people are receiving benefit.
Yeah.
Um, and I've definitely learned how to identify benefits. What are people really getting out of it? And I think for music, the benefit is a genuine sense of connection with you, and you know, like a vicarious living through your experience. You know, that's
Oh
really
yeah.
when people love a song, they're living through the experience of the song. But also, when people love an artist, they're living through the journey of the artist, whatever that
Yeah.
may be. And I think that when I was touring with Henley. I was really struggling to make sales on my records, and it had to happen because I was gonna like lose money being on tour with him. I had to find a way to make it work. I mean, he paid me well as an opener, but I
Yeah.
was booking all my flights and doing everything myself.
Yeah.
So I started to play around with the patter in between the songs, and I happened on the actual true story of how I got that gig, which was a pretty crazy, miraculous true story. And I watched my when I told the audience how it had happened, I watched my sales like quadruple
Yeah.
just from, you know,
Telling
having
your
that,
story.
yeah, just from telling my story. So I think that rather than even looking at sales as like a necessary evil, which is sort of what we tend to do, I really think that it's an opportunity for people to contribute. And that's probably the best way to look at it, that you're helping people feel like they have a way to contribute to your life that's meaningful. And these
Yeah.
days more than ever, that's true.
Yeah. And it's and sales aren't evil. I mean, it's really we're talking about
Essentially.
like a method for communication and providing value. It's really the intention behind it, because even for something that seems so sanctified as music, there's a lot
Hmm.
of people that use music for the wrong reasons,
Hmm.
to spread like damaging messages. And
Right.
so I could, you could say the same thing about that. You could be like, oh, like music well, some people were like, music, rock and roll's the devil's work. Some people like felt that way about certain music because of the way it communicated. Now if you're trying to if you're selling something to someone and you're communicating what you have to offer to them, if it doesn't really benefit them and you're just out to just for your own bottom line, and you're not trying to improve that other person's life or solve a problem that they're having or improve society, that's when sales becomes something that is not good
Yeah.
for anyone, for the world at large. And I hope that more and more musicians can come to understand that, instead of feeling that learning how to sell, which the people sell every day when they try to convince someone to do something. You're trying to
Right.
communicate. I just wish more and more. I hope that more and more musicians will watch this show and realize that they
It's
not only should they learn it, but it's going to help improve their life. Period.
well, it's going to help sustain their career, that's for
Hmm.
sure. And
Hmm.
also, I would say that for me, the big takeaway from that experience on that tour was that it isn't the music that sells, it's the connection that sells. That shocked me. I was playing the same music, but people were purchasing because they felt a connection to me.
Yeah.
So it isn't enough to make great music. You
Yeah.
know, that in terms of getting exposure, getting it heard,
Yeah.
having people purchase it. It's not enough. You can make great music all day long, but you
Yeah.
have to have that connection. People have to feel that they're contributing, however that happens.
Yeah.
There has to be some thread of connectivity between you and those people that has nothing to do with music, which is pretty surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd like to say that music is no longer the product; it's the relationship. And for what you're saying, it's that connection, absolutely there.
But yeah.
Um, so after when you really started down this do-it-yourself career path, at some point you started licensing your music for income. For musicians out there that don't necessarily understand like how that works, can you give us a rundown on how exactly you get your music placed in, let's say, film and television?
TV. It's tricky, and I have to say, obviously, there's an advantage to living in Los Angeles because so many of your social relationships end up being people who are in the industry. So I can only speak from my personal experience, and I don't know how relevant it is if I was living somewhere other than a major city like Nashville, New York, LA, or London. I don't know. I guess I would, if you're living in some kind of a city, you can think about the local films and stuff that are being done there. But for me, my music just got exposed to people who, a director who was a big fan and then who wanted to use me on another project, or a friend who, actually a friend who I was training in meditation, who also happened to edit major motion pictures.
Oh, yeah.
So, there are things like that, relationships where people get exposed to your music, they're a fan, they want to contribute, once again, they want to contribute to your life in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Nobody, I will say this, nobody's going to do anything as a favor. It never has happened that people are like, oh, hey, I've never had that happen where someone's doing me a favor.
Yeah. It's not a good position to be in. You want to be able to give that person something of value back as well.
Yeah, and they can't afford to jeopardize their position to do anybody a favor.
Yeah.
So if your music doesn't fit, if it's not appropriate, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So there's that reality as well. I've also done, mailings and stuff where I've sent out my CDs, and that's resulted in some placements as well. So it's not strictly relationships. I can remember with that Restless Night CD, I sent it out, and I can't remember. I got a couple of just calls from that, and that evolved into. I may have had a foot in the door. I can't remember exactly. Some kind of like, well, somebody knows somebody, and so they'll take a listen.
Yeah.
The key is, they're so inundated. How do you actually get people to listen? Well, once they listen, if you've got something of quality that's relevant for what they're doing, and you can develop that relationship, then you probably get a placement.
So have you ever worked with a music licensing company to get placements?
Well, I was signed by Chrysalis a few years back as a publisher, and then now BMG. And my publishers have gotten placements for me as well. So I've had that happen. I haven't worked with one of the companies that strictly do that. Mainly, I haven't had a lot of material that was free and clear, and they tend to want free and clear material because I ended up working with this publisher and doing co-writes as part of my publishing agreement, which I really enjoy, writing for people. So, and when your stuff is tied up with a publisher, the downside is that no music licensing company is probably going to touch you.
Okay.
Because your material is, it just gets too complicated from a money perspective. People want things free and clear. If they're going, the advantage to a big publisher is that you can get higher rates. The disadvantage is that it ties you up, and so makes it harder for other people to step in and make money from what you're doing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, because you have these large entities that they want it to be as simple as possible because they're slow to move. They're slow to move and act.
Exactly. That's right.
But you actually have a song placed on at the end credits for Open Range, which
yeah.
I love that. I love that. I'm a big. I like Robert Duvall.
I love Robert
Duvall. He's just great. He's just great in that movie. So when I was first researching about you, I came across that. I was like, I gotta throw that out there because that's amazingly awesome.
And that's another example of relationships. I have to say, my cousin was scoring that film, and once again, he gave me the melody, and then I wrote the bridge and came up with the lyrics. And but it wasn't a done deal because here I was, nobody knows who I am, and he had written these massive hits with uh, uh, come on, Brian Adams.
Okay.
So, so they had done, everything I do for you, those massive. So when that movie was happening, there was like some question about, obviously they're thinking politically for themselves. Let's try and get Brian to do
Yeah.
that. So for me, it was there was definitely not a done deal. But apparently, when Kevin Costner, who was producing it and directing it,
Yeah.
heard the song, he loved it and he
Nice.
okayed it. And so yeah, so that's kind of how that came down.
All right, cool. So Kevin Costner is giving you the thumbs up.
He has.
You're
I
pretty
know.
much, pretty much good to go. Although the he's doing now are all like these spy action films, so probably
Yeah,
like a little bit different music goes into that. But
stylistically, yeah.
no, but that's a great story behind that. So like where before you moved out to obviously a lot of these opportunities came from your being located in Los Angeles for music placement. But what's been
Right.
your experience in Los Angeles for all the other aspects of your music career, like live performance and
Oh boy.
selling albums?
Well, live performance sucks in LA. Anyone will tell
Yeah,
you that.
yeah,
So, I pretty much like, unless I'm doing it with an intention, like a record release, or I would do these gigs for a while. I was really determined. I took to playing guitar late, and I use it to
How late
accompany
is late?
late. It's like, I think after the first decade of my career, I got into it. So I managed to, I always played it to write, but I
Hmm.
never dared to play it in front of people. Um, so like around 2000, I started picking up on it, I guess, and decided like I should probably get good at this because if I'm touring, I'll need to accompany myself. So it was
Yeah.
strictly pragmatic,
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
you know, and I don't enjoy it. Honestly, I don't like it too much. But so I would do these gigs where I was like, I'm gonna try to do this gig where I play totally by myself and I'm not gonna tell anybody. And there would be like six people there because I didn't tell anybody. And then I'd be demoralized because nobody was at my gig. And
Yeah,
anyway,
it's a vicious cycle. You have like you're afraid to, and I know how that feels because like for me it's vocals. Like I'm
hmm.
much more comfortable playing with guitar, but I'm a late bloomer on vocals, and
Oh,
all the vocalists that I like are like their abilities are. I mean, I'm not too much into. There's no like pop singer I necessarily enjoy listening to because I feel like they oversing,
right.
but even then the vocalists that I really enjoy, like I'm not at their level, and I'm constantly like singing songs that are sung by women, like so a lot of my favorite
That
artists
could
are
be a good
female.
thing though, yeah.
Yeah, well it I mean like my favorite soul R&B soul singer is Erica Badu, and she
Oh yeah,
so that's
sure.
like one thing, and then there's a few others, quite a few others on top of that. So
So you have a little jazz flavor to what you do, a little jazz soul thing?
oh, it's mostly just like funk and blues.
Mm, okay.
I played in a country rock band before, and opened for Creedence Clearwater Revisited because John Fogerty was,
Right.
he pieced out and took the name, but
Right.
no, like my heart's with a mixture of funk, blues, and hip hop, around that area.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but yeah, going back to just like the aspect of like you're afraid of
Yeah.
of performing, and so like it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, so you don't promote yourself as much. You're like, I don't like promoting myself, kind of comes back to that. So I totally relate to that 100%.
Yeah. And in LA, you're like you never know who's going to be in the audience, and there's a factor of like, I want to be on my game if so and so shows up, or
Yeah,
or there's some of that going on. So
yeah. But otherwise, so the basic the lesson here is that live performance in LA sucks. So everybody pay attention to that. Have you lived in other cities besides Los Angeles?
I haven't, but you know what? If you go just not too far out of LA, it can be awesome. Like, and I haven't done that. I mean, I've gone on tour and stuff, but I tend to, look, I did a lot of shitty little gigs in LA for a
Hmm.
lot of years, and finally I was like, I'm burnt out. The
Yeah.
next gig I do here, I'm only going to do gigs that are fun or and so I've sort of kept to that. Um, I don't know. I just made a new record, so we'll see how that unfolds. I'm sure I'll do, I'm sure at some point I'll start doing live stuff for that again.
And what's your strategy for the launch of this new record, like promotion, marketing, and sales?
It really depends. I'm so proud of this record. It was produced by Joe Pizzapia. He did Katie Lang and Ben Folds' last projects, and his own stuff. Joe Pizzapia, check out Daydreams. It's such a gorgeous record, and so I'm just a huge fan of his. We actually co-wrote on the last project I did, and I just knew that I wanted to work with him. So this was a strictly like a labor of love. It was done. My mom passed away.
Okay.
About a year before we made the record, and it was really to honor her. And I had no strategy beyond, I just want to make something as beautiful as possible. And I know she would want me to honor my artistic expression that way. So that was the motivator.
Okay.
And then, I found a manager as a result of that through Joe, and we've been taking it around to some places. And in my mind, I'm kind of open about the scenarios. If I do it myself, I've even thought about doing some kind of pledge campaign so that I can hire promoters to do, because it's tough to wear all those hats. And especially, I have my meditation training business as well. So it's a lot to keep track of. But, certainly one of the things I'm already doing is using the stuff in Music Marketing Manifesto
Hmm.
to create custom audiences
Yeah.
and build up, I think I'm going to do I'll probably do in the next couple of months, like a sale offer all of my previous works together as a bundle
Yeah.
and, do things like that to generate some income.
So it definitely helps to seek out information to help you with that stuff, with the marketing and sales, instead of being
Absolutely.
like, I'll just do
Have to,
whatever we'd always done or whatever
yeah.
that is.
You pretty much can't do whatever you used to do. So, but I think that look, I think it's really important to delegate if you can.
Hmm.
But if you can't delegate, and actually before you delegate, it can be really helpful to know what you're paying for.
Hmm.
And so the benefit of educating yourself on marketing online is that then you have a full sense of what to do, and maybe you get to a level where you actually understand your audience, you understand what they're responding to. And then if you delegate, it just makes things so much easier because
Yeah.
nobody's going to understand you, your music, and your artist. I'm sorry, you as an artist, the
Hmm.
way, and your audience, the way you are.
Yeah.
So you're the one developing the relationship. Ultimately, you got to be accountable for that relationship in order to effectively delegate.
Yeah. And that makes me think of a story with about Toby Keith, who he 100% understands his audience, and I think he was opening a restaurant in Vegas or somewhere, and on obviously his audience is going to be going to this restaurant that's named after him to eat. And on the
Mhm.
menu, they had a bunch of the different types of food, and one of the main one of the main items was like pecan crusted halibut or tilapia or some
Uh-huh.
crap like something like that. And he is like, no, he's like, get rid of that and put in like ham and cheese mustard
Right.
sandwich or whatever, because in the reason, and when he did that, it was the right decision.
Uh-huh.
That was like the favorite meal, and that came. And I know, like, so the musicians listening to this right now is like, well, I'm not going to open up a stupid restaurant, and and I don't like Toby Keith's music or whatever. No, the point I'm making is that you can admire that in him, that he understands his audience well enough to give them what they want.
That's
Now
right.
you could translate that to the music you create, or to some other like product or merchandise that you sell at your merch table, or maybe you understand your audience well enough um, that they would want to know more about like your backstory. So you could write like a book about like your career. Like if you have a really long career, you could write your own autobiography, or make a membership site. I mean, there's a lot of really truly creative avenues that you could go with that once you fully understand that artist
I think the key
audience.
is,
Yeah.
as you said, creativity. I think that, if you go the cynical route and say, oh, well, that's just bullshit. You're just
Hmm.
giving people what they want, or
Hmm.
you're giving people, or you're kind of lowest common denominator, opiate to the masses, kind of a that's you could take a dark, cynical view of it. And sure, but you know what? The dark, cynical view is a total dead end. And if you're a genuine artist, then creativity is what moves you. And
Hmm.
so you have to bring the real difference now is that you have to bring creativity into all facets of what you do,
Yeah.
including how you're going to develop the purchasing relationship with your audience. It's that simple. You have to think the moment that you say, let me make this a creative endeavor. I mean, look at Amanda Palmer.
Yeah.
She's managed to make it a creative endeavor for herself. She's really managed to, and she just gives a beautiful TED talk, in fact, about
Yeah.
what she learned by standing on Venice beach, offering
Being
a
the human
flower.
statue. Yeah.
Yeah, being a human statue. So, we all have to do shit that we think is just horrifying to
Hmm.
like just to survive
Yeah.
this music business, right?
Yeah.
So, but the key is like your creativity can be intact no matter what, and you can use your creativity for every aspect of what you do, and that's when everybody wins, basically.
Yeah. And I think once you experience like success by because it's all of this stuff we're talking about is not like a magic bullet, quick fix, or pill or whatever. It all takes a lot of hard work, and there still are no guarantees that it'll work out. So a lot of it is motivation, and I think um, even if a artist were to experience results with something they weren't too fond of, like with their marketing, that's a boost in motivation because they can see that it actually does work, uh, and then
It's empowering.
they can, and it's empowering, and then you can get pretty like high off of that sense of empowerment that you get because I think the biggest thing that holds independent artists back is they don't feel like they have the power, and that translates into inaction and laziness.
Yeah, if I had one regret, it was that I felt too dependent on the people around me. Now, I mean, mind you, I took a very self-motivated DIY path, but even still, I look back on my relationships and I can see where, look, I was really lucky. I fell into a major label deal, and when you have that happen, everybody's kind of blowing smoke up your ass and saying like, "We'll take care of you," or it feels that way. It
It's
feels like
Hollywood.
that's yeah, it's Hollywood. It's also being young and falling into a situation and having no perspective but the
Yeah.
perspective of youth,
Yeah, the
But
child stardom syndrome.
yeah, it's kind of that. Yeah, you don't use like, "Oh, well, aren't you my mom and dad?" I mean, that's all, that's the only relationship I know. So, there's a kind of an innocence about it. So then you keep looking to people to fill that role, and your expectations are unreasonable at that
Yeah.
point. And you're disempowering yourself. More importantly,
Yeah.
it's a disempowering relationship. And when you learn a new set of skills and you find a way to make that work for yourself. Bring your creativity to bear on the marketing, for example, and
Yeah.
you see that pay off. That is freedom. That's empowering. And you go, oh, okay, I can have an impact on my professional and financial future.
That's the positive self-talk that every independent artist needs to have. They need to tell themselves, I can take control of my music career and I can have an impact to make it move forward. If there was like one there if there's one piece of advice that you could give to an independent artist who's wants to grow their music career, and that just means making more fans and making more money, what would that be?
Learn about internet marketing. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
I
this is
mean,
my fist pump for that one.
in terms of like and know yourself and your audience
Hmm.
too, and let your creativity shine. I mean, that goes without saying. Just from a creative perspective, man, there's never been a better time to fucking be yourself,
Hmm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's basically
Because
you
people want
got
that.
nothing to lose anymore. You don't have to please anybody.
Yeah.
So number one, like fully go for it creatively. Don't hold anything back. Don't second guess the market. There's no time for that shit. Make music that matters to you because
Yeah.
that's all you have time for. And then learn about internet marketing because you will find your audience that way.
I was, whew, just blew me away there. I was getting all like pumped listening to that. I was like, that's excellent. I think you're right. You're just 100% on the money there. People are gonna pay. Your fans will pay for that kind of honesty, and not only in your music, but in the way that you connect with them online or live at your shows. And so, and I hate to end it here, but I'm gonna wrap up with one last question.
Okay.
What is your favorite album, and what would your life be like if it never existed?
Uh-oh. Oh my God. I wasn't prepared for this.
No one is. No one's prepared.
My favorite album, and what would my life be like if it never existed?
You have 10 seconds
Oh, come on.
before Skype self-destructs.
Well, Joni Mitchell Blue popped into my head, so I'll just go with
Okay,
that.
let's go with that.
Um, Gosh, that was such a seminal work for me. And then there's also, okay, anyway, I could go on, but I guess I thought of her because she is a role model for me in terms of finding your unique voice. That's definitely been a process for me, and I resonate with her in that respect, and her blend of influences. I definitely resonate with because I have a hybrid of influences that inform what I do. I love South American rhythms. I love folk music. I love jazz. I love soul. So all of that kind of those influences inform my music, and I see her as someone who had, had a hybrid going on and found her unique voice in the center of it all. So.
Okay, awesome. No, you handled that question really well. Some people, they'll pause for a second, or they'll ask, can they do 2 albums? Can I do 3 albums? But you usually I just recommend first thing pops in your head, just run with that. Awesome. Well, Juliana, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been great having you.
Right on. It's been really fun. Thanks.
And that wraps up another episode of Seeds of Music on the show. Today we had Juliana Ray. Make sure to check out her links below and give your support. Next, if you haven't yet, sign up for our free email newsletter. Not only will you get updates on new interviews, vlog episodes, and articles, but you'll also get special newsletter content to help you build a bigger fan base and sell more music online. Again, if you prefer to hear and not watch, you can subscribe to our iTunes podcast. Just head over to iTunes, punch in Seeds of Music, Rise Above the Noise, and click subscribe. And if you have a chance, please leave a rating and review. That would really, really help out with the show. If you felt like you learned something of value from this interview, also make sure to hit that like button and hit that share button. Comment on the video. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. What do you think about sales? Are you open to sales yourself, or do you know another musician who does a little bit more selling with his music and has experienced some kind of results from that? Do you know someone who should be on this show, or is that person you? Send me an email to kyle.seedsmusic@gmail.com. I answer every email that comes my way. At the most, it takes 2 days, but rest assured, I will get to your email. And remember, we are the future of music.